time to get geeked up.
Like we've been saying, though, we'll get in this flick, and it is, like we said, like a foreign film from Poland. And like we said, we started this thing off with a foreign film, which, of course, was Roma, which still to this day, one of the best films, in my opinion, we've done on this show.
Yeah, for sure.
So good. And, throughout the years, there's been a couple of just, like, great foreign films and TV shows that, like, we've independently checked out and, like, enjoy.
And some of them that have gotten some real crossover mainstream success or notoriety, and like we'll talk about with The Hater, which we watched, it's getting kind of a little bit more because of controversy or just current relevancy. It was in the news a little bit, but there have been more like Roma that have been Academy Award nominated, big crossover smash hits and whatnot.
Correct. The one I always think of was like one of my favorite foreign films is Robert Rodriguez's first movie, El Mariachi.
Okay, good call.
The first movie from Desperado.
Yes, the prequel.
But the actual first movie in that series is El Mariachi, which was a foreign Mexican film, and they did that whole movie in one take. Like every scene was done in one take because his budget was so low.
Oh wow. I didn't realize that. I remember seeing El Mariachi years ago after Desperado had came out. And then I remember, I had to see, I saw Desperado on, VHS, not even in release or whatever, years after Desperado. And then I heard about Mariachi. But, yes, that's a good one. There's a couple Mexican films on the list, and then Robert Rodriguez, of course, kind of in. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna get back to some of the Mexican ones, but kind of like one that I'll kick off with in Roma fashion. But Parasite, another huge Academy Award nominee, but kind of like Bong Joon-ho, Robert Rodriguez, the first film, in Spanish, Mexican film, and then had major crossover success with American filmmakers and English movies and all. But Bong Joon-ho, kind of the same story, where starts off obviously in Korea, has done some crossover English movies. Snowpiercer, which is a Snowpiercer is not a Netflix. There's Okja, which is a Netflix that we haven't gotten to. But then going back to the OG Korean for Parasite, which I know we talked about it last, year, but what were your thoughts? Remind the peeps on your Parasite thoughts.
Dude, I loved Parasite, man. That movie was such a wild trip, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
I always scream, respect! Around my house, dude. I could watch that scene fucking over and over again, where that poor son of a bitch, he was been, living in the basement. And it's telling the family, he's he provides his power, respect to him, respect to the boss.
Yeah.
And then he's flying in his backyard, all bloody, and he sees the boss, and he's just respect. Dude,
that movie was definitely a crazy trip, like you said. It took you a couple different directions and places. I called it on our Oscar special, that I was going to win the picture of the year. I think you had Jojo Rabbit, but which was also another great film. But definitely thought Parasite was the best movie of last year, and as well deserving, and as well I thought it was going to win the Academy Award just with the whole foreign film angle and all. But definitely one of the best movies in general recent years. Happened to be Korean, but a little bit more transcendent of just a foreign film. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. And kind of in that same train of thought too, with just me predicting Jojo Rabbit that year. Kind of that director, Taiki Waititi.
Okay, yes.
One of the writing partners of Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords, but they made a movie together way before either of them were famous. It was called Eagle vs. Shark, and it's this little small budget New Zealand film, very quirky kind of indie thing, starring Jermaine Clement.
Wow.
Directed by
Taika? Interesting, because I thought you were, of course, going In the Shadows, but we'll get into that in a minute. But I guess before there was In the Shadows, and even before Flight of the Conchords, there was, what was it called again?
Eagle vs. Shark.
Eagle vs. Shark, okay, cool. I think I've heard of that anyway. All right, but that's a great recommendation there from
really
Barnes. Because that's got to be early, or I guess maybe late 90s anyway, because Flight of the Conchords was early 2000s.
Yeah. Late nights for sure, but it's a great flick, man.
Now, we have talked about In the Shadows, however, as I've recently just in quarantine watched the FX series on Hulu. However, I have yet to watch. Actually, I think I tried to watch the movie, but it was only on Apple TV or something like that. There was some reason why I couldn't stream the original movie, but you have seen the In the Shadows movie, which actually stars Taika and Jermaine Clement, right?
Correct. He actually directed that. The TV series is spinning off of it. Excellent. It's filmed the same way the series is, where it's like a documentary style, where they're like,
and it's one of those, it's like a spoof documentary, a mockumentary, if you will, on the lives of contemporary vampires.
It's hilarious, dude. And
really
it also
funny.
crosses over a couple times with the TV series. Like Jermaine Clement makes 2 cameos in the TV series. And both times he's playing the same character from the movie.
Which guy was Jermaine Clement in the series?
In the first season series finale, where they're all on trial for like killing a vampire, Tahiti, Wakiki, and Jermaine Clement were both on there.
Okay.
And in the second season finale, Jermaine Clement was the guy like orchestrating the play. That they all got like tricked into.
That one slipped past me. I saw Taika, and I don't even think I recognized Jermaine because I was not a big Flight of the Conchords guy. I guess we can throw Flight of the Conchords on the list because we are going to get into TV shows. I guess that was an HBO show. But I guess we'll stick in that theory though, because I'll get into a couple more, foreign to the English language films. But we're going foreign, just being not American, at least my list. So, and for me, I'd say that the England really has a lot of great TV shows. However, one of the best that we've watched in recent years was, of course, an Irish TV show, which is, of course, Love Hate.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very terrible impression. But me and you have talked a lot about that show. If you're a big listener to the Geeked Up podcast, you've definitely heard us talk about Love Hate, real gritty Irish crime series, like an Irish version of The Wire. Really edgy, though, where there's drugs, there's, rapes, there's all sorts of really, really quality, edge of your seat television. I like that one rape scene was one of the most intense fucking things.
Oh, the St. Patty's Day episode, man.
It was insane, dude. And there was a lot of just super memorable moments that stick with you from Love Hate, which is renowned in Europe. And there was talks, as we've talked about, foreign American version. Hasn't happened, but probably for the best.
Never happened. But they have had some crossover in the States. Obviously, John Boy had a big thing on Game of Thrones.
Yes.
Darren is now a main character on the Umbrella Academy. The Nidge Weasel was one of Thanos' right-hand man.
Yes, in Marvel, we've talked about that. And even it has a big connection to The Wire, because if you're a big Wire fan, Mayor Carcetti from The Wire fucking blew my mind. I was literally ragging on him to Devin, going, dude, can't believe they scored Carcetti, but dude, could he have a worse Irish accent? They must be going crazy in Ireland at Carcetti's bad Irish. Turns out he's just the most Irish guy of all time. That he sounds like he has a bad accent. Because it's dude, there's no way that could really be how you talk. But
kind of speaking of, 'cause I want to get into TV also, but just one more thing from Ireland that I want to point out is that John Cheadle movie, The Guard.
Yes.
That was
real funny buddy cop.
Fucking hilarious, that movie,
dude. I that's what I was gonna go with it, and maybe we could stick with it for a minute, because I was gonna say, I said, and I think we'll get into some of the English TV shows, but ironically enough, for Ireland having one of the great TV series in recent years, the Irish really put out great movies, whereas the English put out great TV shows. In my book, because The Guard is a great movie as well. There was The Boxer, a couple of the Daniel Day-Lewis movies are technically Irish movies. My Left Foot was an Academy Award winning technically Irish movie from the early 90s that I've never seen, but want to know, I think it might have won the Oscar or
another Daniel Day-Lewis
which
Irish
one?
film, Sins of Our Fathers.
Yes, exactly. Another Daniel Day-Lewis one. The Guard, you said, was a real.
I believe those were American releases I don't think they first came out in Ireland and then made their way to America.
I think that those early Daniel Day-Lewis ones really, I mean, they were like Irish directors, Irish, like the whole cast is Irish directors and whatnot, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, Spielberg, like, it's not like The Boxer with Christian Bale or whatever that came out, which is like, an Irish Tale, but I think a couple. But then there's also like the Magdalene Sisters, and there's a couple like the Black 47 was a recent Irish movie which was real good, like a real dark, famine-esque tale, and just kind of ironic, like I said, because now we can get into a lot of the English famous TV shows, and England has put out some of the great TV shows, but not really many movies out of England, whereas Ireland, outside of Love, Hate, a lot of great movies. However, I don't know about their TV.
I'm sure there's some, but you're right. The TV show is really where it's at.
And this is like from ignorant American standpoint, so who knows how.
Dude, I've always had this question though too, that like. And here's my trivia question. You can email us in because I've never found one. But if you can think of an example, email it in. We'll give you something. But has there ever been an American TV show that's been turned into a British TV show?
Okay, yeah, we've talked about this before.
I understand every show has been a British show.
I know, yeah.
England first, and then there's an American version of it. But I can't ever imagine them being like, "Oh, we're making our own Home Improvement."
Yeah, I mean, we got to get Andy. We got to get our Irish expert Andy boy on the line. But I think we've kind of talked about that a little bit. But I think that they get a lot of just American TV shows. You know what I mean? Where they don't need to do like a European version of The Simpsons because they get The Simpsons.
Sure, dude,
you know what I mean? It's just like we don't really get the European shows, but like American culture is a lot more mainstream to the point where they don't need to like redo our shows wherever we feel the need to redo their shows. But very good question though, and
like
we'll
Shameless, for instance, off the top of my head, British show.
Yep.
American show. Of course, I would say the most famous would be obviously The Office.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais' The Office that got
of
turned
course.
into a much more popular and much longer of a series in America.
I mean, I don't know about, I'd say their popularity could probably be equal because I think in England, the English Office is thought of as like one of the all-time TV shows.
No doubt.
And just the culture of their TV shows are not as much the 22 episode, 10 years of 22 episodes.
That's the thing, though, but for sure. But like, and in that point too, The Office is only 2 seasons. Yeah.
I think literally like 10 episodes.
2 seasons and a Christmas special.
Yeah.
Whereas The Office, though, even though it is like fucking 12 seasons, and like Steve Carell left like after like season 9, everyone you talk to, especially during quarantine, has probably rewatched it again, myself included. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Everyone who's an Office fan has watched the series 4 to 5
No,
times.
and it's definitely one of the biggest, and I actually have really never watched it. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen enough episodes to get it, but I just really never watched it. But definitely goes down, I'd say, top 5, like, sitcoms of the 2000s anyway. And we're talking, top...
Almost got canceled after the first season.
Wow. And Ricky Gervais is a producer, I think, on it or something like that. Like they're definitely
him and Stephen Merchant are both.
Okay, yeah. But I did watch the English version when it came out. When like the whole controversy came out, and you could buy like the DVDs at fucking Barnes and Noble or whatever. I went out and I picked them up and watched the English version. What's up?
What was the controversy?
Just that they were remaking it, and Gervais was always kind of talking shit about Carell and poking fun at him, and there was
that
the
was
whole
always like a gag, dude.
What's up? Yeah, I mean, he was making money on it, so I guess not much of a controversy, but just
off of it.
Yeah. But just the fact that it was this iconic character that was very much of a just total ripoff of another show. It was really one of the first times that came to light. Like now we kind of know that Shameless happened, but it was like, wow, they took this iconic English show and are just totally redoing it with a different cast.
I will say that the 2 shows are very different. That the only episode that is almost line for line is the pilot. They pretty much keep that almost exactly the same, which is kind of pretty wild.
But Gervais and Carell are very different, like kinds of awkward, you know what I mean?
Very different characters.
Carell's like a fucking bumbling idiot, you know what I mean?
Ricky Gervais's character, I've said this before too, David Merchant versus Michael Scott is, Michael Scott at the end of the day is still like a lovable goof. Like he might be an asshole at times, but like he's trying to do the right thing, whereas David Brennett is the fucking just the worst piece of shit in the world. Like, he has no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, for sure.
He's just such an asshole.
Yeah, definitely.
He's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no,
I honestly can't say which one is better, too. I mean, I love The American Office, but they're two very, very completely different shows, man. Like,
yeah, and honestly, just the culture of the TV, like I said, there is, to be honest, something really impressive about stretching an idea and making it work for fucking 100 episodes. And like Seinfeld, I love fucking, there's 90 episodes that I think are amazing. That's really impressive. And English shows as good as they are, and I guess there are English shows that have run, you know, a lot of years or whatnot, but their seasons are shorter.
Dr.
But,
Who.
you know, you take a sitcom and you really, if you can make, you know, 100 quality episodes, there's something really special and impressive about that. And if you can do it successfully with 3 different bosses or whatever, you know what I mean, with Will Ferrell running the show. But I guess a couple, some other English shows. There's a couple of like more recent ones, like Fleabag has been like a smash hit. That's now, you know, being watched. I guess is there now an American version, or the English version was just real popular in America?
The English version was just real popular.
Yeah. The In-Betweeners was another one that had some like crossover success.
In-Betweeners was on my list. Dude, one of my favorite British shows. There's only one British show that's at the top of my list that I'll get to in a second, but In-Betweeners, again, dude, fucking hilarious. And that's another one where they try to make an American version of it on MTV, and it's fucking totally fizzled.
Yeah, that was like a failed, but the English one is pretty popular, though. Like, the English one in America, way more popular than the stupid American one, you know? Mm-hmm. But, what's your other great one? Because I got a couple of the other like classics, like Faulty Towers, Vicar of Derby. You've been, Are You Being Served? A couple of those like English sitcoms. But what's like your all-time English show?
All-time favorite British show was this show called Spaced, and it was
Spaced.
Edgar
Not
Wright.
familiar.
Okay, so it's the director of like Shaun of the Dead and all those movies. You know what I mean?
Okay,
World's End. But so Edgar Wright made it, and it's a young Simon Pegg and a young Nick Frost, who is the 2 main characters in like Shaun of the Dead and all that. And it ran 2 seasons, and they planned on making a 3rd season, but they took a break to make Shaun of the Dead, and then their careers like blew up.
Okay,
but,
interesting.
Dude,
so that's another kind of like the Eagle versus Shark, where it's the guys before they're, you know.
Dude, it's so.
Or even like In the Shadows, where it's the same storyline.
Is that like Simon Pegg has to like. Him and his friend, who's this chick, they have to like pretend they're a couple to live in this apartment complex, and there's like the antics they get into. But it's so Edgar Wright-esque. I think there even is like a zombie episode. There's a Star Wars episode. There's a rave episode. But just something crazy about that show too is Nick Frost, obviously the best friend in Shaun of the Dead, who always plays his best friend, is in real life his best friend. The fucking guy wasn't even an actor. They were just like trying to find someone.
Oh, wow.
Best friend, and he was just like,
"How about my best friend? We'll get
my man come in and read.
We'll get silent. We'll get Jay over here, and he can be my. We'll get Jason Mewes to be my."
And fucking straight up, now the guy's like an actor.
Oh fuck yeah!
I don't have any friends that good.
Yeah, seriously. And I'm standing right here agreeing with you. So, I guess those were some of our English TV shows. I guess I will backtrack on my English movie statement just from talking just a little bit here. But we do, I guess, have to give a big nod to a couple of the great English directors. Like you just kind of said, brought me into thinking of Danny Boyle and Guy Ritchie. I almost don't think of their movies as English. Maybe you could look at what was the Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels as like a very English, crazy, dark. Or no, not Lock, Stock. Was that the first one?
Lock, Stock, for sure. Lock, Stock, and Smoking Barrels would be the English one.
What was the first one, though, before Snatch?
Lock, Stock.
Okay, Lock, Stock, yeah. With the crazy overdose scene and all.
Yes. Snatch, you could argue, would be more of an American flick, maybe.
Yeah, Brad Pitt and all. The first one was like straight up English drug shenanigans, like super English, you know.
The most like American version about that movie was Sting, and even obviously he's British, but he was like, "Hey, we know Sting."
Yeah.
But I mean, really, Lock, Stock, and introduced you to Vinnie Jones, to Jason Statham.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was the first time you ever saw those guys. And,
yeah, for sure.
Well, kind of the last time you saw Vinnie Jones. But,
well, there was always Snatch, but I guess, and then Danny Boyle as well. Some great stuff. I guess his biggest crossover would be Slumdog Millionaire, I think. Did that win the Oscar?
I believe it did.
Yeah. maybe, but he's had some huge ones. I actually loved Yesterday, the Beatles one that just came out last year I talked about. So those two guys aside, like England definitely puts out some great movies as well, but kind of just my point being that Ireland has great movies, England great TV shows. But how about, do you have any other outside of the UK back to...
Two, man. One, I was going to say one more TV series, and it's on Netflix, so I feel like it's mentioning, but the German TV series Dark, which is kind of written up as like the German Stranger Things, but I would argue is kind of crazier, man. A little more, just a little more fucking nutty.
Interesting.
Great series, only 3 seasons, I believe. I'm halfway through the second, but it's a fucking great show. Actually, golden ticket recommendation from Ross from one of the
the Zoom rooms.
Zoom night, correct.
Who also brought us Gomorrah, which is no longer on streaming, but an Italian crime show that was apparently...
And he also brought up Cuties.
Just the poster, though. He didn't know about the movie.
I feel one just giant one we're missing in general, but just like, I'm going to use Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon as an example, but literally every like movie from like China and Japan, like all the Kung Fu movies.
For sure.
Godzilla fucking movies.
Yeah.
Anime, there's such a huge anime.
Okay, good call on the anime. I was just thinking like the early John Woo, like Chow Yun Fat movies. I forgot about the entire country of Japan, to be honest. But yeah, they put out a lot of shit.
That's a huge one.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Crouching Tiger. I'm more of a face-off guy. I liked his American. I liked when John Woo went American and did Face-Off.
Mission Impossible 2, I believe John Woo directed also, man.
Okay, all right.
There's flying doves in the background. You got a woo flick.
You got John Woo in there somewhere.
You got a woo flick on your hands. Dude.
But I'll go back and I guess kind of ending it off, as I don't really have too many left. I guess Life is Beautiful, which I never saw, but was like the Italian asshole that ran down the stairs in the Oscar. I know with that one, but I'm sure it was great. But I'm gonna go back to Mexico, to my hermanos in Mexico, which have done a couple of great ones, especially even somewhat recently, but Pan's Labyrinth was like a 2000s Oscar. Guillermo del Toro.
Man. I can't believe it slipped my mind. Of course. He also had the movie with the, it was described to me as one of my old bosses as a deaf lady fucks a sea creature and they fall in love.
Yeah, that one was an American one, though, I think.
I guess that was an American one. That's true.
But then as well, though, two of the all-time classic Mexican movies, they're a little bit more associated with being like psychedelic midnight movie classics, all right? Okay. However, you do have to try to read while tripping your balls off, so I'm counting them. But there's El Topo and Holy Mountain, which are from like are you familiar with those? They're like from a famous 70s Mexican director, but like it's really, they're known as like the two, especially El Topo, but like the most psychedelic movies of all time. There's literally like midgets wearing fucking masks and all sorts of crazy shit going on, and it's really more it's just as more this like midnight movie,
for sure,
like cult phenomenon, but definitely and really revolutionary in the whole psychedelic cult movie kind of genre, but both Mexican classics, Holy Mountain and El Topo. So I'm counting those. That's where my film.
Have you seen them personally?
It's where I have, yeah, for sure. But again, more in the like I've seen them at midnight while tripping my balls off, like not being able to read the fucking, you know what I mean? Like, and they're really Holy Mountain's a little bit more of like a biblical tale. El Topo is a little bit more just fucking straight weird. It's like a western. It's like a psychedelic. There's like a midget on a pony following like a Mexican John Wayne around fucking for a spiritual journey. It's crazy. But it's again like a psychedelic. You know,
Choro. That means he likes you.
Yeah, got Rob Schneider in there being hilarious. I saw Rob Schneider, whether he was there or not, who knows? But
Ooh, baby, it's time to get geeked up.